Welcome to the PTA Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, John Caladrem. Come with my co-host, Nick Kelling. Nick, how you doing tonight?
Howdy, I'm doing excellent.
I'm very pleased to have a very special guest. We have a realtor from South Alabama, Brooks Milling. Brooks, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Oh, just living the dream. So, Brooks, kind of introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and why you're on the PTA Real Estate Podcast.
Yeah, well, my name is Brooks Milling. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I live in Auburn, Alabama. I'm a realtor with True South Properties, which is based out of Auburn and specialize in land sales. And I'm on the podcast because John asked me to be.
So, are you on like a commercial team?
No, I mean, we work pretty independently.
Okay.
I mean, if you got projects going and you want to team up, or if somebody else got something and they want your help, or that, you can work like that, or you can work independently. It's kind of situation dependent.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times it's time dependent too, whether it's how quick, somebody wants to sell something and then you're like, all right, I'm going to need help with this, or it's how much you got already to do. And you got to serve your client first, give them the best
Yeah,
service.
for sure.
So,
And I usually focus on residential, but I've definitely listed a piece of land, and land is a different game than residential housing.
yeah, I mean,
It's a
I've
different beast.
never done anything residential.
Just for the people, what's the difference between land and residential? Just for the people out there, one of you guys, could you explain that?
Well, a land is kind of, self-explanatory with just a piece of land. There's nothing on it. You might have city water, sewer, power, or any of that, but depending on how developed the piece of land is. And then you have residential when there's a dwelling on that piece of property. If it's usually it's 1 to 4 family.
Yeah. And yeah, with a residential, you're probably gonna have more focus on that dwelling than you would the
Yeah.
property around it.
Yeah, you're not selling a piece of land. You're selling a backyard and a house.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brooks, can you kind of take us through the process of how you got into that? Because you're the first person we've had on that has not. We've had commercial, we've had residential people on. We never really had someone who specialized in just purely selling land. Can you give us a little background how you got into that, and why is that kind of a? Is it a niche in Alabama, or is it kind of how things are done down there?
So I got into it because I knew I wanted to go into forestry, and the timber industry is huge in Alabama. And I was just trying to think of other sources of income as well. And so I decided to get my real estate license when I started college, and I got that. And I was working for a timber company when I got my real estate license. And the boss I was working for put me on with the brokerage I'm with. And, they just kind of go hand in hand. I wouldn't say it's, a small market or a specialized market, but I mean, there's a lot of land sales, and the market's pretty big in Alabama, especially for timberland, outdoor recreation properties like hunting camps and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty big market.
Could you break down like what are, because like if you're trying to buy a single family home, having a finished basement, 2-car garage, a swimming pool in the backyard, those are all good market factors that would be like, they'd say, oh, that's a good house to sell. What are some like market factors for one for timber and 2 for use of like hunting plots? Like what are like, what's like the swimming pool? What's the, what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Timber is tricky. Your market is just really volatile. And so it kind of just depends on what people are looking for. I mean, you want something with a high side index, which that goes into the soil and like the timber type you want to grow. And a side index is typically like what that really means is how high your average height of trees at a certain age group. Like it's usually 25 years. So if you have a site index of 75 or 80 in 25 years, from the time a tree is planted, it's going to be 80 feet tall. That's something people look for. They want road access usually or deeded access. It depends what they want to use it for. I mean, if you just want a timber investment tract, you're not going to care so much about being on the road or having utilities available. But if you want to hunt and camp and you're going to want to build like a cabin or something, you're going to want like a good road system.
I think a lot of people don't look at the deed restrictions or really know what deed restrictions really are. And then they start looking for a piece of land and they realize, oh, whoa, I can't even build residential housing on this because there's an ordinance on this piece of property that says, hey, like, so an example is that I had this guy that was looking for residential property.
Nick, explain what a deed restriction is for the people.
So,
example.
Yeah, when you're buying a house, you're gonna or a piece of land, really anything. There'll be a restriction on your deed that says that you're the owner, and it says, hey, you cannot build a dwelling on this property or this area of the piece of property that you're buying. And then there's a lot of different type of things that can go into a deed restriction. An example of one is someone was looking to buy a piece of land in the medical center in Houston. He actually purchased the land. I was not an agent. I just heard this afterwards. And the agent didn't tell the person to look at the deed restriction. The title company didn't. Nobody informed this guy to see if he can even build a residential dwelling on this property. And it ended up after he bought it, he was trying to get the permits, and the city was like, there's a restriction on this deed. You cannot build property because it's there's like some toxins on the land. And this was like a $5 million piece of land too. Like it was not cheap. Yeah. So now he's trying to sell it again. I'm trying to get the listing with it and all that stuff. But
so is that written in stone? Is that written in stone? Can you get it removed, or once it's on the deed, it's on the deed?
It's pretty much on the deed. There is ways you can go about it, but this is toxins within the ground, and the city is not gonna remove those.
It'd be pretty expensive probably to,
yeah.
It'd be like, okay, you'll pay for cleaning, and then you'll pay for another test, and
yeah. I mean, this guy's already $5 million in the hole, and that's bad. And and then the property value kind of went down since he's bought it. He's been paying taxes on it. He's paying, his interest on it. So yeah, he's pretty pissed about the whole situation.
Well, I would say that's on him. If you're buying a $5 million piece of property that you're going to use it like as an investment, you probably should look at the deed to see if there's any restriction on there. I think that's your checklists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I didn't realize when I first got into this game is that there's a lot more work than I thought. If you're going to serve somebody right, and there's people that, everybody messes up, but then there's also just laziness. But yeah, you have to check all the boxes. And I mean, your reputation is huge. So
yeah, I mean, I see laziness from my peers in the real estate industry all the time. And it's mostly people who like market themselves as like discount agents. They're either brand new or they know that they're lazy and don't really care, and they're just in it for the money, which isn't even that good of money, but they're just like, hey, I'll try undercut everyone and then just not care and just try to collect my 1-2%.
Yeah. If you're going to go, look to sell or buy, you are doing yourself a service to pay somebody a little bit more to have them do good work for you.
Yeah.
And in a big deal, even if that difference, if it's a 3% difference, but it turned out to be,
you save $5 million.
Yeah. It's worth it.
It's
get
definitely
it
worth
done
it.
right in the
And
long
this
run.
kind of rolls into the video that we had today about don't just go straight into real estate investing. If you guys are ready for me to pull it up.
Yeah, just throw it on there. You-
$9 in real estate, what would you recommend to them to do?
Do not immediately go into real estate investing. I think a lot of people think that that's where you make money. That's also where you can lose a significant amount of money. Brokerage is a no risk investment. Your time is what you're investing into creating relationships for people that are going to pay you to help them do a real estate transaction that you have nothing to do with. You don't have to buy the glue or the nuts or the bolts. There's no capital investment. And that's what's always set me free, because the risk is your time, but the reward can be endless.
If someone to make $1 million in real estate,
So I kind of agree with that. I agree and disagree with that clip. I know that's a two-sided answer, because as someone who purchased a investment property young, it is time consuming and your capital is tied up. I think it's all about what you're trying to do. If your main focus is building a business in real estate, then obviously the earlier and the better you buy a piece of real estate, the better. But if you just are generating income on a different stream and you're using it as an investment strategy, then I would definitely agree with him saying hold off on that. And then there's other ways that are less time consuming and risk, like they're way less risky, like investing in the stock market, just buying mutual funds, like how kind of like the Jay Brome, what he was talking about in our previous episode. So there's definitely different ways to skin this cat. As people who are realtors, what do you guys think of that?
I mean, if you want to invest in real estate, go for it. I know that. So I listened to the radio. There's like a real estate investment radio, and they offer groups that you can join. I think it's like a couple $100 a month, and they provide you with, I mean, amazing resources, and you're part of this investment team that helps you invest in real estate. And there's knowledgeable people, there's mentors. I think joining something like that for people, if they're just jumping into real estate, but I mean, you're paying your dues and you have to invest your own money. Where as a real estate agent, yes, you're investing your dues, your money, your time, but you're kind of learning the system as you're kind of making money like on a job in your own business. And you also learn how to run a business too. But I think if you want to just be a real estate investor, I'd say joining a group. The ones in Houston is Lifetime Wealth or something like that. It's a pretty big investment group here in Houston. I think joining something like that is important.
Yeah, and I mean, with any investment or pretty much anything you do, like it kind of boils down to the company you keep and who you're gonna work with. And I mean, he's I guess in the video, he's talking about relationships, and that's one thing you hope to accomplish as an agent, is to have these clients that you continually work for, and you help make them money, and you do good work for them, and they don't cheat you, and y'all build that relationship. If you wanted to blindly go into real estate, just like blindly go into anything else, you're probably going to have there's a bigger chance you're going to have more trouble than if you were going to go, seek advice from trustworthy people and, get a little bit of help.
Brooks, I cannot tell you how much I agree with your statement there after my own experience with the trucking industry of
It'd be
blind.
nice if you had like a trucking group of people that you guys could like share ideas with.
Yes, it would, or just a different point of reference of bounce ideas off of and seeing, is this how you exactly a group of people. I completely agree. Of if you're going blindly into something, it could be trucking, it could be real estate, it could be the timber industry, it could be any industry you want.
Banking.
Banking. There is going to be a learning curve, and you're going to have to be ready to climb that mountain, because there's definitely going to be people out there who are way more experienced than you, and they're just going to eat you alive because if they want to.
Especially in being a real estate agent in Houston, hosting a bunch of open houses per month. I mean, somebody going to open house, they're going to go to 2 or 3. If you're an inexperienced agent that don't know how to properly host an open house, you can get eaten alive. No one's going to sign up with you because they're going to go to the next house, and someone that actually knows what they're doing. They're going to get those clients and those leads.
Yeah.
And Brooks, I have a question for you in like the style of real estate you sell, because every day people complain, like I position mortgage and stuff like that, and every day people complain about interest rates in that industry. Is that as a big of a deal as a single family home, or what's kind of like the no goes in the timber industry when you're buying a plot of land?
I mean, it depends, because I mean, the interest rates definitely affect the market, like, but it also depends, on how people are doing the transaction. There are some people, making these deals, they're just going to deal with cash, and they're going to be the ones zigging when everybody's zagging. So like, they've been waiting for this moment, and they're just like waiting.
It's great for cash buyers.
Yeah. And but yeah, like, we just came off a big high, I guess, right when I got my license, which was a little over a year ago. I mean, one of the things that was told to me was, you're probably going to have a really slow start, because we just got off of this crazy, run with the land sales, and you're probably going to have to wait a little bit. And they're right, just because of the interest rate. So right now you're just sitting in, I mean, the buyers are still there, but they're not like, people aren't itching to buy it, like they were 2 years ago.
So even land, it's slow.
Yeah. I mean, just the amount of listings has gone way down too.
And Brooks, I do have another question about the timber industry. Kind of break down how it is run, because I don't know about you, Nick, but I have very limited experience to the timber industry. Kind of break down how money is made, like the deal flow. For instance, McDonald's, they make their money off real estate, owning the land, the franchisees, and selling the hamburger. Can you kind of give us an overhead view of the timber industry and like how people make money?
Yeah, I mean, people make money a lot of different ways. What do you picture when you talk about the timber industry?
Well, this is how I see main expenses are owning the land, materials, aka labor, and the actual trees itself, and also the time it takes to produce it. So I picture making money is you say you own 100 acres, or let's just say you use 10 acres. Obviously, you can't cut all 10 acres down every year, because then you only be able to produce it X amount of years, because the tree has to grow. So I envision like a rotating system of, you have 10 acres. Every year you cut down 2 acres and replant 2 acres, and it's like kind of a rotating cycle. And then you kind of depending on supply and demand. If timber is high this year, then you can make money. If timber is low next year, you're not going to make as much money. That's how I envision you make money in the timber industry.
So, like, as a landowner, you don't have to buy land to be in the timber industry. But as a landowner, I mean, you're not really going to be able to cut anything less than, like, unless it's a really good track, I'd say like 30 acres. Like, a logger's, like, nobody's going to buy it, because it costs money to move all the equipment in there. They need to sit, have a place to sit for a little while, and just like, logging is a production game.
So I'm sorry for cutting off. So you say you don't have to own land. I'm assuming you can lease land from other people who own the land. And 2, what is the minimum amount of land you need to either own or lease to turn a profit year over year to be a successful company?
So, like, you don't lease it. Like, this is what I want to be a timber buyer for a wood dealer. So there are a lot of these companies out there, and what they do is they just go, like, if a landowner wants to sell their timber, usually they're going to either post a bid. So they're going to send it to all these wood dealers in the area and certain mills, if they buy wood too. And there's going to be, on this day you'll submit your bid, and it'll probably be, a month, or it could be longer than that. And they're going to kind of like lay out the boundaries of what's being cut, just kind of in the same way you would try to describe a property if you're selling it. But yeah, then those guys will go in and usually you'll cruise it. So that's a whole nother, that's like a forestry thing, but you'll get an estimated volume on what's there and the products that are there, and you'll make your bid. And then the timber can be bought lump sum, which means like Callie's selling me, Callie owns 1,000 acres. He wants to sell this 100 acres. And my bid is I'll give you $180,000 for it, or I can buy it per unit, which is like you have X amount of tons of saw timber, X amount of tons of pulpwood, chip and saw, whatever it is, and I'll pay you this much a ton. Everything in the forestry world and the timber world is usually traded on per ton.
Okay. So just to clarify and kind of summarize at that point, because I'm learning a lot. This is very interesting. So there's companies out there that don't own or lease the land. There's like a network of people who, correct me if I'm wrong, or cold calling, say Nick owns land, I own land, and you own land, and you're trying to run a timber company. You just reach out to us like, hey, you own 1,000 acres. Can I get half of that for my timber company, and let me give you X amount of money? Is there
it wouldn't be
fee or percentage? Do they do flat fees or just a percentage of the profits?
It wouldn't be like that. So it'd be like usually if you have a lot of land, you have another forester. So there's two sides of forestry. There's like the buying, dealing side, which people call procurement, but like the dealer side is like the middleman. Then at the mill, like if I'm a dealer and I bought somebody's wood, I'm going to trade with the mill. So I'm the middleman. If the mill buys it, then they don't have a middleman. And then there's the consulting side, which is like, that's the management side. So consulting foresters, they just manage people's land, usually for timber. And usually there's different ways they can get paid. Usually it's a percentage off timber sales. So like if you want to think about it at an 8% commission, and a consulting forester, needs to make a living, he's going to have like other little jobs he's doing that pay him a little bit, but like he needs to sell, to make a decent living. Say you called that $200,000, it'd be up what, like what would that be?
Let's just call it even numbers to make 200 grand. You sell $1.5 million worth of acres, roughly.
Yeah, hold on, I can do it real quick.
That's way too low. That's way too.
Yeah, it'd be like 5 million. Let me see real quick. But so that's going to come. So 5 million at 8% will give them $400,000. So it'd be 2.5 to get your 2.5 million to get your 200.
I did that mental math and I was off by $1 million. Typical.
But yeah, so then you, as a consulting forester, you really need to manage thousands of acres and have people work with you to make a living. That's how those people make livings. But
so it's very relationship-based industry. You said it yourself. Your reputation is everything. So I'm just trying to like relate to, because like I said, Nick, I don't know about you, but I have very limited experience to this business. So is there like networking groups, or is it all word of mouth? How does someone break into this? Besides your grandpappy back in the day, post-Civil War, he did it and I did it, now my baby dad did it. So like, how does a layperson break into this industry?
You would probably you can network. I mean, the way a lot of people just rely on those groups. And I mean, there are like at the school, like I go to Auburn for forestry school, like they have opportunities. We have a forestry club where professionals will come in and tell you about their company, and you can meet them and you can apply for an internship with some of them. Or, there's the Forestry Association at Alabama Forestry Association. They'll have events. But there's also like, there's just you using your brain and figuring things out, and calling people, seeing who will talk to you, like go meet them, go have lunch with them. A forestry, like one thing about it that, is a networking thing is you just ask a forester, like, hey man, can I hop in the truck with you for a week? Like, I don't want to get paid. I just want to ride with you and learn. A lot of people work by themselves and they drive, all over the place all day, and they're by themselves. So if they're like got a young person that's eager to learn, like, hey, can I hop in the truck with you for 2 weeks or whatever? Or I'm only free on this day. Can I ride with you this semester or something like that? Usually they'll be like, yeah, man, come on. Like, and then you get to know them, you get to learn from them. Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to get into it, but just like anything else, like you have to put an effort into it. Like it's not just going to come to you.
So forgive my ignorance. Is there like a big four of forestry or timber companies? Like I know for accounting, if you want to get into main brand accounting, there's the big four. If you want to get into banking, there's the national banks, there's Chase, there's PNC. Is there the major companies, or is it dominated by the mom and pops, the guy in his truck running by himself? Is it more of a localized industry, or is it becoming more nationalized or globalized?
There are big companies that operate internationally. Those are usually your mills, or you can work for like a TIMO, which is a timber investment management organization, and they're just like large scale consultants, pretty much, trying to get these landowners a return. They're small. There's small people working. It's all different. A lot of your loggers are going to be mom and pop generational folks. I've met some loggers that have guys a little bit older than me that just started out doing it because, there was a gap in it, but they're like, oh, my grandfather did this, but their dad didn't do it, but then they wanted to get into it. A lot of, at least some folks will help you get on your feet. Like if I graduated school and wanted to start a wood dealership, like that's what I'd be looking for, because people will, help you get going. They might own half the company or help you get equipment or help you get set up with stuff and have an interest in it for a while. But the plan is over time you buy them out. Those people are usually interested in keeping things local and small, because that benefits them. But
so it is kind of like, I'm just trying to relate for people who have no point of reference to it, because I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. I'm a city folk. I have no point of reference to the logging industry or timber industry. So it is kind of like regular real estate at the local level. Like there's deals to be had in anyone's town. Boots on the ground, driving for dollars. All their strategies are tried and true methods. But as you get bigger, it becomes more globalized. I think that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and like, the mills used to be more, local families that had them, and now you have big companies buying them out. It is changing a little bit, but I don't know. There's guys starting out, that are under 30 years old. They're either starting their own consulting or logging or, trying to deal wood. There's a lot of variability in it. It is based on your reputation and interacting with folks, and a lot of it is a gamble. Every track you buy is going to be a gamble. You want to have a good idea what's out there. A good logger, a lot of times the way the logging works is they may be company owned. So like a wood dealership may own equipment and the men work for them directly, but a lot of times it's the logging crew operates independently, but they stay with this certain person that keeps wood in front of them, and they like the relationship. So it'd be like in the logging is tough. It is the toughest, I would argue. The logger is typically at the bottom of the totem pole. Yeah, it could be, a lot of loggers run their own trucks. So they got the trucking aspect, they got heavy equipment, and they work, they probably work the hardest. I'd definitely say that, and they get paid the least.
That's usually how it goes.
But yeah, a lot of the way that would work, like if I was a timber buyer, and some companies like have some company crews, and then they got some contract crews, is what you call them. But if I got 3 crews in front of me, like my job is not only to make good deals and buy wood, but I got to look out for those guys that are working for me. Make sure they're good with everything, and keep them afloat. I mean, they're going to fall on tough times, and you're going to be fine, and it's going to be vice versa. They're going to be rolling, and you've lost it on a couple of tracks, and they need to help you out, and you just got to work through that to, kind of make that relationship work.
Mm-hmm.
So the more what you said, what I'm getting for this is definitely a relationship business, and if you're an enterprising young person, you can make a living at it regardless of your level of experience. You said it's a boom or bust. Is it or you said every track is a gamble. Is it a gamble of this, say, for to use a real estate example, if you buy a single family home, if unless you are an idiot and you grossly overpay, over time you'll eventually either break even or make money off of that due to appreciation, rental income. You can take, once you get equity in it, you can do home equity line of credits, invest in other things. Is it you could either lose all your money or 10x your money, or is it kind of stable of a single family home? Like, what is, when you say it's a gamble, what level of gamble is it? Is it put all your money on red and hoping for the best, or is there multiple ways to skin this cat?
It depends. I mean, like when I'm talking about buying tracks, I'm talking about it from just not a real estate side, just from the wood dealer side. And a lot of times those contracts are a year. So if I bought, when I buy you,
What is a track? Just so we're clear.
A track would just be like a timber sale. Whether you're selling, 30 acres or 3,000.
Okay.
I'm going to call it a track. And usually it's going to be like either the farm name or the family name or whatever name's on the deed, like, it'd be the Cali track or whatever. And when you get the track, you're just buying the wood. So all I'm doing in my transaction with the landowner is saying, I'm going to buy your wood and I have 1 year to cut it. Usually you put a performance bond down or something like that. And if you.
So it's a race against time. I like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like flipping a house. It's a race against time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually, you break it down into wet weather tracks and dry weather tracks. And the weather usually has something to do with the markets. When it's wet and people can't log as much, and you have good wet weather tracks to get it in on and move wood, the mills are going to pay you more money than in the dry season, which, everybody can move wood.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain, things people can do. Some companies will have wood yards, which is where it'll be its own little company, and if I rent a wood dealership and I have, a few wood yards spread out strategically, it's basically a place where my trucks can go. The wood yard pays me for that wood, and it's going to sit and get watered down and stay fresh until, the mills are hurting for wood. And then
that's a good idea.
Yeah. While you're moving, trees directly from the woods, you're also going to pull them from your wood yard and kind of like double up on that opportunity. Not everybody does that. I mean, those are just like little things that are done to try to help with that. And, you want to have tracks on the books, but you don't want to get spread too thin. Like you want to have places to go. I don't want to just be like, we got this place and another place, and if the sky falls out, we're screwed. Like, so you kind of have to strategically buy and get tracks on the book and knock them out. And you're always doing that.
You're always thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this is a good place to stop. I definitely learned a lot about the timber industry and the intricacies that go into it. Nick, do you have anything more to add, or Brooks, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good. I mean, it would take me, a long time to run through it all, and I'd probably have to get a whiteboard or something.
Yeah, probably. Next time.
Next time. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. God bless, and have a good rest of your day.